Good morning, kindergartners. This is Miss Brohill bringing you your lesson for this week. We are going to be creating a portrait, and a portrait is a picture usually of someone's face. And if you had your pictures made this year for school, then you know that you had a portrait made. But we're going to do a snowman portrait today, and I want you to learn about these special crayons. Well, they're kind of like crayons. They're not really crayons. They look like crayons. They are called oil pastels, and they are a little bit more expensive than regular crayons, but they are really rich in color. That means that they are really bright, and they show up really good on construction paper. So if you can get some oil pastels, that's fine. If you can't, regular crayons will work too. I'm going to do my snowman portrait on a red piece of paper. And like I said, a portrait includes your face and part of your shoulders. So I'm going to use a Cool Whip lid to give me the circle for the head and part of the shoulders. So if you've got any leftover plastic lids, you can use that. The reason that I use a lid is because if I ask you to draw a circle, most kindergartners draw them about this big around. So we want a nice big portrait on our paper. So I've got my paper vertical, and I got a little wet there. I didn't know what that was. It's vertical instead of horizontal. Vertical is up and down. That means I have a lot of room around to do my portrait of my snowman. So the oil pastels that I have at school, when they're next to each other after the paper comes off, they get a little dirty. As you can see, this orange one's pretty dirty. So one thing that you can learn how to do is called a rubbing. And a rubbing is whenever you have a crayon or pastel and you're not pointing when you draw, but you are laying it down flat and pinching it and doing a rubbing. So that's one way you can clean your oil pastels, just by doing that. And really creates this really good texture that looks a lot like snow. So that's the reason that I'm using oil pastels and doing a rubbing. And see, it cleans that little spot right there where I rubbed it. So if you ever need to clean your oil pastels, you just lay it flat and do a rubbing. So that's how we're going to create the texture, and that's what it looks like, it feels like for our snowman. So since I got that side, I cleaned it on that side. I'm going to get my circle, and you're going to use your white oil pastel or crayon. Trace around it for the head. Put it right in the center of the paper. That way you'll have lots of room around the top to do some snowflakes and a hat and all that stuff for your snowman portrait. So there's the head. Scoot your lid down to where it's hanging off the edge of the paper. So this will be his shoulders. So I've got the shapes of the snowman's head and his shoulders. So I'm going to use my oil pastel and do my rubbing. And well, you can use, while I'm doing this, you can use any color construction paper you have. If you don't have any paper, just remember, when you go to the grocery store, ask for paper bags instead of plastic, and you can use those paper bags to make art on, in case you don't have any paper. It's a great way to reuse paper bags and save you a little money. Alright, so I've got my texture for my snowman portrait. Next I'm going to do a top hat. And if you've ever seen Frosty the Snowman, you know he wears that magical hat. So I'm going to do a top hat. And before I do that, one thing that oil pastels can do that crayons cannot do, they can usually cover up what you've already drawn. So you can't erase anything, obviously, and you can't do that with crayons, but it will let you color on top of it and cover most of it up, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to do a top hat. I'm going to put it at an angle, and this will be the rim of his top hat. And his top hat, I'm going to go a little bit wider, is just a rectangle. I'm going to put the ribbon around his top hat, this area right here. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Now you don't have to do a rubbing on this unless you just want to. I think it looks better if you just color it in. So here's my top hat, like Frosty has. And I'll show you how oil pastels can actually cover other oil pastels up, or most of it, not quite all of it. I'm going to use a blue oil pastel to do the ribbon. And see, I just color right on top of it, and it covers up that white corner of the snowman's head. Now, oil pastels, if they don't have any paper on them, they feel really greasy. And it takes a couple of hand washings to get all the grease off. But they feel really greasy. That's because they're made out of oils, obviously, because they're called oil pastels. So I've got my top hat. I need a triangle for his nose, because his nose is a carrot, and so you can still see where it covers up part of the snow. So I'm going to do really close together zigzag lines to make it look like the texture of the carrot. You can come in and add a little bit of black. Since I've got a dirty orange oil pastel, you can see where I've got a little bit of black in there. It makes it look like the texture of a real carrot, which I really like. But you can come in with a little bit of black and make it have some texture for the carrot. I'm going to use, there's my black. Black button eyes. I think it's the way the story goes. But you can do whatever color eyes you want. If you want to put in eyelashes, that's fine. If you want to put in eyebrows to make him look surprised or something, you can do that too. I don't have a red with me, but I'll just do buttons for his mouth in a shape of a smile, which is a curve, so it looks like a smile. I'm gonna put some buttons on his chest. Next, I'm going to make it look like he's got a scarf on right here between his head and his shoulders. Just come in and, oopsie, draw in a rectangle for his scarf. And I do really close together zigzag lines. And see, it covers up that white on the snowman. So this gives it the texture of a scarf. Usually there's part of the scarf is hanging down. So I'm going to put a couple of little fat lines here to make it look like a scarf. He's got on a scarf, or she, hanging down. So that creates that texture of that. Plus it covers up most of that white snow texture. Okay, next we want to do draw the arms. I start out, and they're made out of sticks, obviously. I start out with the letter Y, then I draw a line in between it, and that makes it look like he's got some fingers on his stick arms. Here's another one on this side. Okay, now since it's snowing, we can come in and do dots for snow, but I like to do a plus sign and an X to create some snow. Some snowflakes coming down. Maybe if we draw enough snowmen, we'll get a really good snow. I think we missed a really good snow the other day. Wherever you've got an empty spot, you can throw in some snowflakes. If there's something else you want to put on there with your snowman portrait, please do so. So I hope you enjoy this lesson, and I will see you soon.